"You're an embarrassment," she said loudly in front of her friends, then walked out holding another man's hand after he offered her a ride in his leased BMW. So I packed her bags that night without a word. Now she's crying about losing the life I was building, and I won't even look at her. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. I don't really post on here, but I've been reading these kinds of stories for a while, and now that my own is finally over, I feel like I need to write it down. It's been a crazy few years, and a lot of it was my fault, but the ending just feels like something I need to share. For context, I was with my now ex, Chloe, for 5 years. 5 years. We started dating in college and, as you do, we grew up together. I honestly thought we were a team, a single unit moving towards a shared future. I was always the quiet, reliable one, the guy with the plan. After graduating, I got a solid job in tech. It wasn't glamorous, and it certainly wasn't the kind of thing that would land me on the cover of a magazine, but it paid well and had great benefits. I'm a planner. I believe in delayed gratification. I wasn't the kind of guy who bought a brand new car the second I had money in my account. Our goal, was a house. I'd been socking away every extra cent I had into a separate, high-yield savings account for a down payment for 2 years. Chloe, on the other hand, was an entirely different person. She worked in marketing and was constantly obsessed with image, social media, and what she called living in the moment. Our lives felt like a constant tug-of-war between her desire for immediate gratification and my need for long-term stability. I should have seen the red flags, but I just thought it was a part of her ambition, a side effect of working in a field where appearances were everything. I was wrong. The image, the ambition, it was all a front, a fragile shell hiding a selfish core. The beginning of the end came at her company's annual gala. It was a black-tie event, held in a ridiculously ostentatious ballroom with gold leaf on the walls and chandeliers the size of small cars. I was there in my one good suit, trying to be a good sport, but I felt like an outsider, a misplaced piece of a puzzle. The air was thick with the scent of expensive perfume and the drone of self-important conversations about quarterly earnings and market shares. Chloe was in her element, flitting around from group to group, talking about branding and social capital with her coworkers. One of them, a guy named Alex, was particularly aggressive. He was a used car salesman who talked like he owned the place, all swagger and rented confidence. He had a brand new BMW M3 he was clearly leasing, and he wouldn't stop bringing it up, gesturing to it through the enormous windows of the ballroom. During a lull in the conversation, one of Chloe's friends mentioned her boyfriend had just bought her a new car, a fancy one. Chloe, with her friends watching, turned to me, and there was this look on her face, a mix of disdain and impatience, as if I were a project she was forced to present to a panel of judges. "Liam, tell everyone about the house you're saving for," she said, but the tone of her voice wasn't warm. It was a performance, a deliberate effort to make me sound boring. I started to talk about the area we were looking at, the stability, the plans. But she cut me off, her hand waving dismissively. No, not that. Tell them about your dream car." I paused. I didn't have one. Not a specific one, anyway. My dream was a life, not a car. My dream was that house, the mortgage paid, the security. But she wanted me to play her game, and I just couldn't. I remained silent. Alex saw his opening. He stepped in, draped an arm around Chloe's shoulder, and gestured to the parking lot. Some guys just talk about being responsible, but others know how to take care of a woman properly. How about I show you what a real car feels like? My body tightened, my blood turning to ice, but my voice remained calm. I was done being humiliated. I looked Chloe straight in the eyes and said, "Chloe, if you get in that car with him, we're over. You know what I'm working for. You know what we've built. I'm not going to let you do this." Chloe's eyes flashed with anger for a split second, then narrowed into a smug, dismissive gaze. She actually snorted a little laugh. "Don't be so dramatic, Liam," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. "You're an embarrassment to me, and to everyone else here, for that matter." She then took Alex's hand, smirked, and walked off with him, leaving me standing alone in the middle of the crowded room, the silence deafening. The air felt thick with silence, but I didn't stick around for the pity looks. I simply turned around, walked out, called a rideshare, and went straight home. My head was spinning, but my movements were methodical. I wasn't crying. I wasn't yelling. I just felt a deep, cold certainty. The relationship was over. I went to our apartment, grabbed 2 empty moving boxes from the back of the closet, and began packing. I started with her clothes, then her shoes, then the ridiculous collection of designer bags she'd bought on credit. I packed up everything that was hers and stacked it neatly by the front door. The engagement ring I had been planning to give her, which was hidden in my sock drawer, I simply put in a small box and placed it inside a locked safe, like a forgotten memory. A few hours later, I heard the key in the lock. The door opened, and a giggling Chloe walked in. She was still in a great mood, probably expecting to find me sitting on the couch, heartbroken and ready to beg for her to come back. The faint smell of expensive perfume and gasoline filled the air. She saw the boxes. Her face froze. The giddiness evaporated, replaced by shock, then fury. What is this, Liam? Are you actually serious right now? You're going to overreact like this because I went for a ride. I didn't say anything. I just picked up the last of her things, a scarf she'd left on the kitchen counter, and handed it to her. She shoved it back into the box and looked at me, her eyes wild. Fine. You know what? You're right. This is for the best. You're so stuck in your safe, little world. You're too controlling and you're an embarrassment. We were never on the same level anyway. Alex actually understands what it means to live. He lives in the moment. He doesn't save for years to get some boring little house in the suburbs. I'm going to have a life you could only dream of, Liam. A life of fun, of spontaneity. A real life. You just exist. You're a placeholder, a security blanket. I'm done with security blankets. She grabbed a bag, slammed the door so hard a picture fell off the wall, and stormed out, her final words echoing in the silence. And with that, she was gone. My silence was my final word. I didn't chase her. I didn't yell her name. I just stood there, the silence in the apartment feeling, for the first time, like a peaceful, empty space instead of a hole in my heart. The old me would have been crushed. The old me would have called her, would have begged her to come back. But a new me had emerged in that brief, painful moment at the gala. This new me was stronger, and most importantly, he was finally free. For the next few months, I went completely silent. I blocked her on everything, her number, her social media, her email address. I cut off a few mutual friends who I knew would act as spies, or worse, would try to convince me to just talk to her. It was hard at first, but the silence became my sanctuary. It was a conscious choice to not allow her or anyone else to disrupt the process of healing. I wasn't ready to talk about it. I wasn't ready to hear her excuses. I just needed to be alone. The part of me that had been constantly trying to justify her behavior, to find excuses for her, was finally quiet. The space in the apartment felt empty, but it was a good empty. It was filled with peace. I put all my focus into my life. My work thrived because I was no longer distracted by the constant emotional drama and the quiet anxiety of wondering what she was going to do next. I used my savings for the down payment on a small, 2-bedroom condo. It wasn't a mansion, it wasn't a palace, and it certainly wasn't a $130,000 car, but it was mine. All mine. I still remember the feeling of signing the papers and getting the keys. The quiet pride that came with it was a feeling I had never felt before. The condo was just big enough for me, and I spent my evenings painting the walls, decorating, and making it my own. I also started a side gig I'd been thinking about for years, a small online business selling custom furniture I built myself. It was an incredibly fulfilling outlet. I found solace in the smell of sawdust, the feel of a freshly planed piece of wood, the methodical work of creating something beautiful with my own 2 hands. It was a metaphor for my life. I was building something new, something real, something that was entirely mine. The emotional shift was gradual, but profound. The internal monologue I had with myself evolved from shock to a quiet sense of purpose and peace. I realized I wasn't just getting over her. I was getting better. The life I was building was my true dream. A dream of stability, of creativity, of genuine happiness, and it didn't involve her. I started going to the gym more, picking up old hobbies, and reconnecting with friends who had drifted away during my relationship with Chloe. I was becoming the person I was always meant to be, not a security blanket for someone else, but a person with his own life, his own passions, and his own peace. Then, the whispers started coming back to me through a few mutual friends who hadn't completely taken her side. Alex, it turned out, was living a life he couldn't afford. The BMW was a lease, and the payments were crushing him. The expensive dinners, the fancy trips, all on credit. He was a salesman, all flash and no substance. And he was also possessive and controlling. He isolated Chloe from her friends and belittled her for not being ambitious enough, the exact same thing she used to throw at me. The guy she left me for was not living the life she thought he was. It was a complete facade, a house of cards waiting to fall. Chloe's karma came in slow, painful waves. Her friends started to distance themselves because she was so toxic, and Alex had cut her off from everyone anyway. Her dream lifestyle was a lie. Alex started to spend less and less money on her, and his true abusive nature came to the surface. It was all a front. The final, ironic blow came when her friends told me that Alex's car had been publicly repossessed outside her apartment building, right as she was leaving for work. The car she had chosen over me, the symbol of her upgrade, was gone. Her life was slowly, but surely, unraveling. Then the call started. Texts from unknown numbers. Voicemails. The messages began as a simple, "Hey, how are you?" and escalated into a barrage of desperate pleas. "Liam, hey, it's me. I know you're probably angry, and I get it. But I miss you. I miss our life. Can you just call me back? I made a mistake. A huge mistake. He's not who I thought he was. I need to talk to you." I ignored every single one. I didn't reply to a single text. I didn't listen to the voicemails. My life was peaceful, and I wasn't going to let her shatter that. She then started trying to get my friends to talk to me. They would mention it to me, but I would just look at them and say she made her bed, and now she has to sleep in it. My friends, seeing how much happier I was, finally stopped trying to meddle. Then, a few weeks ago, she showed up at my new condo. I was working in the garage, building a new piece of furniture for my business, when I heard a knock on the door. It was Chloe. She looked exhausted. Her clothes were a bit wrinkled, and her makeup was smudged. She was a wreck. The arrogant, smug look had been replaced with desperation. "Liam, please, just let me talk to you," she begged, her voice hoarse. I stepped outside, pulling the door shut behind me, the sound of the latch clicking echoing in the silence. She was crying. I was so stupid. I thought all that stuff mattered. I wanted that lifestyle. I missed the stability, the safety. I missed us. I just looked at her, my face completely neutral. I was an empty canvas. I didn't feel rage or sadness. I didn't feel anything. I just saw a woman I used to know, a ghost from a past life. She went on, desperate. "I know you hate me. I know I messed up, but can we just try to get back to how things were? I'll change. I promise. I miss my life with you. I just want my life back." I took a deep breath, and for the first time in months, I spoke directly to her. My voice was calm and firm, devoid of any emotion. "You're right, Chloe. We were on different levels, but not the way you thought. You wanted me to risk everything we had for a car I didn't need and a life that wasn't real. The man you left, the man who was saving for a home and a future and a family, that man is gone because you publicly humiliated him and chose to throw him away. He was a good man, but he's gone forever." I looked at her, at the wrecked version of the woman who had walked away from me. "I'm building a new life now, a better one. It's quiet. It's stable. It's exactly the kind of life you told me was an embarrassment. This is my peace, and you have no place in it." I turned, walked back inside my condo, and closed the door. I didn't block her again because there was no need to. She was completely irrelevant to me now. It's done. And for the first time in a very long time, I can say that I am completely, genuinely at peace. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.